Today we're talking with Grant Menzies from Adina Watches, Australia's last watch manufacturer.
Right, great to be with EFTM this morning, Chris.
Thanks, Grant. Grant, how do you feel about the rise of smartwatches and whether it's having an impact on traditional handcrafted watches?
Mate, there's always been a tech offering. I remember when I first started school, the kid next to me, he was wearing a Casio watch with a calculator. I was still wearing a watch that you wound up every day, you know. Mine was red, so it did go faster. But what I'm trying to say is there's always been a tech offering, and here in 2018, it's absolutely no different. The smartwatches have got a role within the sports, sort of energy, counting your steps and beeping and all the rest of it. But for us as a traditional watchmaker, it's actually not really having too much effect. We're finding people still want to buy watches that really mean something to them.
Okay. And how have you managed to remain Australia's only watchmaker, especially in light of the cheaper options that are produced in, let's say, China?
Yeah, that's a great question, Chris, and I think it goes more to what we were just talking about. People are really wanting something that's going to last. They want something that's going to look good, it's going to be functional, it's going to be relevant to their lifestyle. So our pedigree is making waterproof watches. We got famous for it in the 70s when the digital revolution came along. My father Bob, who started this company, he wanted to stick to his guns, and what he was good at was making water-resistant watches, and he came up with this niche of water-resistant watches for ladies, and we've been able to extrapolate that sort of niche from there. And now, basically across our collection, we're making everything almost minimum 100 metres water-resistant.
Fantastic. Tell us a little bit about the Australian watchmaking school at Ultimo TAFE. How many graduates do you think there'd be each year, and is it hard to secure the required talent to make good watches?
Well, Chris, you know, the future of our brand is definitely to have talented watchmakers actually working with us here at Adina. So we've got two very distinct departments. We've got our repair division, and we've also got our production, all with watchmakers. So it's in our best interest to encourage the school down in Ultimo and give it as much support as we can. Currently, I think that there's 6 first years, there's 7 second years, I think there might be 3 or 4 fourth years. So there's not a lot out there, but it's not that the young people aren't interested in doing watchmaking, it's the ability for people to apprentice them. Currently, we've got 2 apprentices, and one of the other watchmakers here in Brisbane, Wallace Bishop, they've also got 2 apprentices. So we're doing as much as we can, but the ability for us to train, there's just not the watchmakers out there at the moment to be able to train these young people, and that's the scary thing moving forward.
Okay. And what can you tell us about the raw materials that go into making the watches?
We would combine up to 10 different factories for every single watch, and when you think about it, that can be a glass, either a sapphire or a mineral. We've got a case. We only make cold stamped stainless steel cases using 316L stainless steel, which is a very, I know it sounds funny to say, a very soft stainless steel, and it's stamped then annealed to harden it up to make sure if you were to wear your watch in the shower, you know, you're not going to get that expansion and contraction. You've got bracelets, clips, the spring lugs, they're also made from steel. The dials, which are made from Swiss brass and then have the applied indexes placed on before being lacquered. Hands, the movement. So the raw materials across the board are sourced globally, but then combined into our factory here in Brisbane to come up with our finished watch.
And what country is it that the movements come from?
We're using 100% Swiss-made movements, and we're using the fully repairable Swiss-made. So what that means for our consumers, if you were to buy an Adina and down the track it was to break down or got damaged in some way, we've got the ability to fix it. Think of the car analogy. If your fan belt breaks, you can replace it. It's the same idea with your watch movement.
Can you talk about market share? I hadn't heard of Adina before, and plenty have asked me about the popularity of the brand. I understand it would fall into a niche area, but what is it? But yeah, could you sort of
So we've been around this is our 47th year this year. So we've been around for the thick end of 50 years. We've definitely fallen into a niche. We've not got a Formula One racing team, if that's what you're sort of getting at. But what we do is we've got a very strong army of what we call Adina adorers. Once you start wearing Adina, you don't ever seem to go away from it. So in the early days when Dad started the business, he didn't have any money for marketing, so his goal was always to convince the watchmakers who often owned the shops to put our product on the shelves, and then using the watchmakers' knowledge of what we had done to the watch, they could then sell that on to the consumer. Fast forward 47 years, we still have a strong watchmaker following for our brand. But now with a very educated public, we're finding that people are seeking us out to try and find a watch that's great looking, but also very, very reliable with that repairability aspect. You know, we work hard for our dough, all of us, you know, going to work every day. And I think people are being more and more discerning on how they spend that money.
Fantastic. Tell us a little bit about the Brisbane Factory with 20 staff producing over 40,000 watches annually. Aside from being a family company, do you have any loyal and proud long-term staff member stories you might be able to walk us through?
Yeah, well, we've actually, everyone that ever seems to start at Adina seems to stay for a hell of a long time. I've been with Dad now for 22 years and I'm kind of middle of the road. Probably our longest serving employee is a watchmaker. He's been with us for well over 30 years. He joined the business as a watchmaker, turned into a rep. Now he handles the logistics for all our ordering and production. So he's been with us a hell of a long time and is a wealth of knowledge for myself and arguably Dad's right-hand guy. As I sort of touched on earlier, we've got two very distinct parts of our organisation, your repairs and also your production. And with that, we've got to support, each side has to support one another. So the production guys, if they're really up against it, like at Christmas time or at Father's Day or in those high volume areas, we'll draw people from our repairs department into our production. And likewise, after Christmas we find, or at daylight savings time, there's always an influx of repairs. So we can also then draw on our production guys to move across into our repair department. So the place is a very fluid organisation. We are a smaller family business with just under 20 staff members. In saying that, they are all very, very highly skilled and have that ability to sort of move around our organisation as we sort of see fit. Production, as I said earlier, it's ebbs and flows, so we can have big volume items times of year and also steady. Our corporates can put pressure on us as well. If they've got a special event that they've asked us to make a special watch for, that can also put pressure on us as well. So yeah, it ebbs and flows.
Fantastic. And in terms of marketing, how do Adina target potential customers and grow the brand both online and on the ground?
So we've taken a very, I guess, not unique approach, but it's one that we feel very comfortable with, is we have an online presence, which initially was nerve-wracking for us to get out there and sell our watches directly to the consumer. For traditionally, we'd always been a bricks and mortar supporter. We've got over 300 independent retailers nationally selling our product, and we didn't want to undermine them. But what we did want to do was give ourselves the ability to have some extra marketing dollars to push out into the social media space. So we've got a lot of energy around Facebook, a lot of energy around Instagram, a lot of energy around LinkedIn, chatting with, like I said, our hashtag Adina Adorers, and introducing ourselves to new potential clients. Now, I know what we do to make our watches and I know how great they are, but what my job now is to introduce that spirit to potentially new people. And I know I can't be everything to everybody, but what I would love to think is that once somebody hears about us as an Australian company, that at least we get a hearing. If we're not quite the right fit, I get that. But overall, I would like to think that there's something in our collection for most people.
Thanks, Grant. So you've experienced good growth as an Australian watchmaker over the last 47 years. How do you see Adina progressing into the future?
We've been lucky to enjoy pretty much 47 years of steady growth. There's been a couple of flat years there around the GFC and the like, but overall we've been able to keep reinventing ourselves to keep ourselves relevant to the changing market. You know, the watch market, although in the conservative end where we're based, is still very style focused. So people want something that's fashionable yet functional. They want it to look good in a host of different situations. So I think that's been part of the secret of our success, and our designing has to take in what's going on in Europe, but then give it the Australian zhuzh to make it relevant to our market where we're selling our watches. But overall, it's a really enjoyable journey, and you know, we love the watches, and we're so proud of the watches that we produce here in Brisbane, and we endeavour that anyone who buys an Adina watch has a great experience with it. So it's been fabulous sort of chatting with you on everything for the man about our watches, and I look forward to reading about it in the broadsheet.
Thanks very much, Grant.